G'day there ladies and gents of the internet, I am the Braveheart Aussie and welcome to a journey in world building. Today we're going to be taking our second step into the world of Los Cerion and explore the economy and society of this part of the Tyson Sector Compact and the wider Dark Diaspora universe. One of the appeals of Los Cerion is in fact that unlike Samiyaji, it was colonized for almost exclusively economic reasons. The planet lacks basic habitability, yet the appeal of the economic prosperity through the planet's rich resources and seemingly endless geothermal energy sources meant that it was subject to several rounds of ultimately unsuccessful colonization before the first underground lava tube settlement was established. Once this model of habitation was confirmed as viable, the subterranean tube cities proved suitable for creating enclosed breathable atmospheres and partial climate regulations. It was subsequently replicated a total of 17 times, with subterranean cities now established across different parts of the planet. These cities are characterized by long, expansive networks of tunnels, tens if not hundreds of kilometers in length, carved from the planet's crust by former lava flows. Sometimes several kilometers across, the tunnels are typically characterized by a single elevated thoroughfare or road that runs through the center of the tunnel. On each side of the thoroughfare is more sophisticated areas of housing and shopping and commercial activity, providing the well-to-do with views across the tunnel's skyline and above that of the smog. Below, however, is where the vast majority of the people live, in proverbial and literal slums, as well as mixed in with all the factories and foundries of the planet. At the time of the Dark Diaspora universe, the largest of the cities is that of Larthos. Home to over 4.5 million people spread across 127 kilometers of lava-combed subterranean catacombs. The city represents one of the largest concentrations of techno-industrial production, capacity and population in the whole diaspora. The city itself is overcrowded and struggles from significant air quality issues due to the scale and scope of foundry manufacturing and fabrication production in the area. At the time of the diaspora, the planet of Los Cerion represents about 40% of the entire industrial capacity of the Tyson Sector Compact, with a focus on noxious and heavy impact industries. This has helped to preserve the comparative livability of many of the other constituent planets of the Compact, with Los Cerion effectively acting as an offshore hub for economic activity that otherwise would risk those worlds. This industrial potential was one of the major motivators for the early integration of the world into the Compact. This occurred some 3 centuries earlier than present day within the universe, by which time Los Cerion had already established itself as a manufacturing hub within the sector. The military nature of the integration was particularly brutal on Los Cerion residents and armed forces that had sought to maintain their independence. However, poor habitability of the planet coupled with a higher gravity meant that local authorities had to divert an above average share of their economic output to maintaining and enhancing the livability of the planet for local population, which constrained their capacity to field a notable army or resistance. Ultimately, the campaign lasted only several months, at which time the local authorities surrendered and the planet was handed over to a puppet government controlled by the original compact members of Kanara and Samiyaji. Over time, however, this puppet government took on a more formalised role, albeit with still significant economic and political ties back to the wider compact, and it had adopted a much greater capitalistic and laissez-faire approach to the world and its economy. Now, Los Cerion is defined by significant megacorporations that trade with compact authorities and other planets across the sector and the wider universe for their profit. These megacorporations have effective control over major sectors or districts within each of the subterranean cities of Los Cerion, including providing housing and basic services for their workforce. Government taxation is extremely low, with export duties being the only genuine source of revenue for city and planetary governments, rendering them effectively powerless. This means that despite high levels of employment and economic participation among the residents, the quality of living and life expectancy of the people of Los Cerion is actually lower now than it was 3 centuries earlier. The megacorporations exist almost entirely at the behest of the merchants of the Coalition, and in particular the administrative, finance and banking arms of the organisation. This reflects the fact that in the absence of lucrative and tariff-free transit provided by the Coalition within the borders of the Compact, the role of Los Cerion as the foundry and factory world of the Compact would soon become beset by local and wider galactic competition. This has created something of an incestuous relationship between the Coalition and the Megacorporations of Los Cerion, with both actively and fervently protecting the interests of each other. One of the most prodigious industries on Los Cerion is that of weapons manufacturing. The planet is the primary production center of combat drones, space hulks, and artillery for spaceborne weaponry and ammunition in the Compact, and many of the items produced on the planet are standard issue to militias, as well as a small number of commissioned naval vessels within the region. This capacity has also meant that such production is used extensively by free flaggers as well as other military forces around the galaxy, with the obvious exception being that of the Genfarian-based states. This military-industrial complex, along with the now strong integration of the planet's capitalist and mercantile leaders with that of the Coalition, as well as the wider Compact politicians, have supported a strong pro-war faction within the wider Compact, seeing conflict in the sector and the diaspora as an important part of ensuring their underlying profitability and success. This profitability is then parlayed into basic food and medicine imports, as well as luxury goods for the planet's elites. New conflicts have also led to increased demand for workers as production schedules accelerate and workers burn out, leave, or otherwise perish. Fortunately, Los Cerion's image outside of the planet is of a highly prosperous, productive world, filled with people all of whom have gained gainful employment and receive good wages and consistent food and shelter, which is in contrast to most places in the diaspora. Of course, this is only a partial true, and the reality of overcrowding, overwork, pollution, and corruption usually dawns on the desperate souls that decide to move to Los Cerion in hope of a better life. This constant immigration from within and outside the diaspora means that the people of Los Cerion are some of the most multicultural and multi-ethnic in the universe. However, there is still a lack of genuine ties back to Earth-based religions and cultures, meaning that such distinctions are rarely the source of civil tension, with racism proving an increasingly inconsequential factor in the face of never-ending hardships. Of course, out of this desperation comes new opportunities for the Compact's principal religious partner in the form of the Tarvan Covenant. Nowhere in the galaxy is the Covenant more ubiquitous and integrated than within the Compact, and their role within Los Cerion in particular has become a particularly important way of curbing potential unrest against the planet's leaders and their megacorporation allies. Covenant temples, as well as feast days and religious ceremonies, are a constant feature of the urban life of the underground Catacomb cities, and the payments of tithes to the Covenant has effectively offset the benefits of lack of any other form of taxation within the planet's cities. While the role of the Covenant cannot necessarily be classified exclusively as negative, the extent of the power and influence of Covenant disciples, acolytes, and novices means the opportunity for corruption and abuse are extensive. And there is also a reasonable minority of these people who take advantage of the opportunities on Los Cerion with great fervour, enriching themselves and otherwise abusing their power and trust with the people. And we've already seen examples of the dangers of novices abusing their power over the population in our lore videos to date. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I think is where we're going to leave it. I want to explore some more of the topics here today, particularly when it relates to that of the slums and the associated terrors that causes, as well as issues such as lava breakthroughs of the major cities which still occur, as well as some of the major and scary life forms that are occurring on the planet and within the lava pools in the subterranean regions. This is going to be the only video for this week. The lore video that is its companion is actually going to be next week as I'm traveling for work. Then we'll come back the following week with our 2 episodes associated with the local terrors. But that is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Hope you'll have a wonderful day, and may the journey continue. Hey!